What is up, guys? Delboy here. A live reaction to the most recent WBA heavyweight rankings. I've not seen these before, but I've heard a lot of bad things about them. So let's run through them and see what we think. Let's have a look. Okay, so Anthony Joshua, as we know, is the main champion, fair enough. But we also have a regular world champion in Manuel Charr. That is completely and utterly pointless. Nobody takes that belt seriously. Nobody really sees Manuel Charr as a real world champion. That belt just holds no credibility whatsoever. He beat Ustinov for that title. That says it all. And not only that, he recently failed a drug test, so he might even be stripped of his regular title. That's totally irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. Trevor Bryan is #1 rated, and he is actually also the interim champion. Now, how do you have an interim champion in a division where you have two champions? You've got two champions. Why have an interim champion? Makes no sense. It's confusing. It's convoluted. It's silly. Let's be honest. And is Trevor Bryan mandatory for Manuel Charr or Anthony Joshua? I mean, who knows? And not only that, look at Trevor Bryan himself. Who's he beaten? His best wins are over BJ Flores, a failed cruiserweight, and Derek Rossi, a heavyweight journeyman. They are his two best wins, and somehow he is #1 rated in the WBA. I mean, he's very fortunate to have such a high ranking. I know he's promoted by Don King, so maybe old Don King is still pulling some strings here and there. Who knows? #2 ranking, we have Jarrell Miller. I'm not as high on Jarrell Miller as some people, but I do believe he is a genuine top 10 heavyweight, you know, lower level in the top 10. I've not really got too much of an issue with that ranking, to be honest. He's beaten fringe level guys like Johan Duhaupas, Marius Wack, Gerald Washington. These are all fringe level guys. He's a solid fighter. I think he can give some world class fighters some issues. So not really any issues with that. #3 we have Fres Oquendo. Jesus Christ. This guy's 45 years old, and he hasn't fought since July 2014. So he's not fought in about 4.5 years. And by the way, he lost that fight to a shot Ruslan Shagayev. I know there's some type of legal dispute here, and that's why Oquendo's ranked, but still, he's not fought in 4.5 years. He's 45 years old, coming off a loss, and he is #3 rated in the WBA, and I think he's still mandatory for one of these titles as well. So yeah, that is pointless. It's silly. Nobody wants to see Fres Oquendo in 2019. Nobody wanted to see him in 2014, to be quite honest, when he last fought. So yeah, get Fres Oquendo out of these rankings. I mean, can Eddie Hearn and Jarrell Miller just offer this guy a boatload of money to fight Jarrell Miller just so he can get rid of this guy? It's got to that point now where I just want to see this guy gone. Get him out of the rankings. He doesn't belong there. Dillian Whyte, #4, that's fair enough. Dillian Whyte is coming off some good wins over the likes of Joseph Parker, Lucas Brown, Robert Helenius, Chisora in the rematch. He's coming off some good wins, and I believe he should be highly rated in all of the sanctioning bodies, to be quite honest. #5, we have Joe Joyce. How on earth has Joe Joyce got a #5 rating in the WBA? Fair play to his promoters, because it's not from his wins in the ring. You know, his best win is arguably against Lenroy Thomas, maybe against Igor Kaladze. You know, that's the standard of opposition he's been fighting so far, and for him to get a #5 ranking, he's done very, very well. The less said about that, the better. #6, Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, I've seen him fight before. I saw him fight Adrian Granat. He won that fight by a unanimous decision. Handy boxer, solid technical ability, but should he be rated number 6? Probably not, to be honest with you. Number 7, Bryant Jennings. Fair enough. Bryant Jennings has been around for quite some time, holds wins over the likes of Arthur Spilka when he was undefeated, Alexander Dimitrenko, Mike Perez. You know, he's got some good form on the resume, and he's fought a good level of competition throughout the years, and I do believe he's a good fighter. Maybe even a top 10 heavyweight, actually. I like Bryant Jennings. No issue with a number 7 ranking for him. Number 8, Alexander Povetkin. I actually expected to see Povetkin a lot higher. I've got no issue with Povetkin being in the top 10. I know he's coming off a loss, but he's got a good body of work in the division. I still believe he's a good fighter. No issue with Povetkin at number 8. Number 9, we have Filip Hrgović. That's quite an interesting one. His best win to date is Amir Mansour. Maybe he shouldn't be top 10, but I do believe he is a very good prospect. And his resume is actually better than Joe Joyce and even Otto Wallin, to be quite honest. So, I mean, when you look at guys like Wallin, Joyce and Oquendo, and even Bryan being so high, I'm not really fussed at Hrgović being number 9, to be quite honest. Sergey Kuzmin, number 10. No real issue with that. Recently beat David Price. He's also beaten a couple of other like high-level journeymen. He's a pretty good prospect, good fighter. No issue with that. Number 11, Jesus. Kayotaro Fujimoto. Never beaten anybody of any consequence. Should not be in any ranking. Full stop. That's as much as I can say about that. Michael Hunter, number 12. Fair enough. Recently moved to heavyweight. He beat Alexander Ustinov and also the prospect Martin Bakole. I've got no issue with Michael Hunter being number 12 ranked. Also, he fought for a world title at cruiserweight unsuccessfully. Hunter's a good fighter. He'll fight anybody. He's been active. Fair enough. Bogdan Dinu is still ranked after that beating he took to Jarrell Miller. Shouldn't be rated. Dylan Carmen, number 14. I'm not actually too mad at that because he recently beat Simon Keane, who was a standout amateur for Canada and also quite a good prospect on the come-up. And Dylan Carmen beat him. Again, not the strongest guy in the world, but he is at least coming off a good win. Not the worst ranking in the world, but should he really be there? Probably not. Guillermo Jones, Jesus Christ. I think that's another Don King fighter. To me, he should not be rated in the WBA. He's not done anything for a long, long time. His last good win was against Denis Lebedev. I believe that was back in 2014, 2013. And that was at cruiserweight. And also he failed a drug test after that fight. So that was his last good win. And since then, he's fought a couple of journeymen at heavyweight. And somehow he is rated in the top 15. For guys like, 45, 46 years old. He has no business being in the top 15 rankings, to be honest with you. But, you know, it's the WBA. We do get some peculiar rankings with them. But overall, I mean, I've looked through this list. It's not great, I've got to be honest. There's some obvious names that are way too high or shouldn't be there, full stop. You know, Oquendo shouldn't be there. Joyce shouldn't be there. Fujimoto shouldn't be there. Bogdan Dinu shouldn't be there. Guillermo Jones shouldn't be there. Maybe even Dylan Carmen shouldn't be there. They are quite weak, to be honest, and I can see why people got upset. But, you know, these are the sanctioning bodies for us, you know, and the WBA are arguably the worst, to be honest. So, not surprised. There are some head scratches there, but it is what it is. Not really that impressed. The thing that winds me up the most, I'll be honest, is Freza Oquendo and the regular champion and even the interim champion. That's what winds me up the most, to be honest. But yeah, that's my brief thoughts on the rankings. Pretty poor, but not surprised. Share your thoughts below.